Wednesday. It's time for Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? Your Marvel Crisis Protocol and more vlog. Tonight I am joined by 3 people. 1 is a familiar face, and 2 should be new, at least to the show, but not new to our hearts. We have Dr. D, we have Miles, and Cam. Miles is one of the head brain people, I think that's the clinical term, of Wicked Dicey, and they do both Ironweld and Everwinter, which we will be going to and streaming some MCP from this December. We also streamed last year from Everwinter and as well as Ironweld earlier this year. Usually those events so far for MCP have been hosted and run by Brian Watson, who is a regular on the network. And then Cam is just getting into Shatterpoint, coming from kind of a history of both Legion and Warhammer games, similar to we here at the network as well. So we're going to get a little bit of tidbits from kind of that transition as someone that's kind of just picked up Shatterpoint, as Shatterpoint's starting to pick up some event speed kind of in the convention cycle. But first, welcome everyone. Thank you for being on this week, except Dr. D. But
That's fair.
But let's go right into it. So normally at the top of the show, we always talk about what we've hobbied this week, games we've played, whether it's, within the AMG wheelhouse or not. Yesterday, Taylor and I got to try out the new core box for Marvel Crisis Protocol, running some of the new affiliations with S.H.I.E.L.D. led by Iron Man, as well as the new Sinister Six affiliation, which was just a little overwhelming, to be fair. It is a great affiliation, and MCP is in a very interesting spot right now with all the character updates, where I think over the next year, and really kind of coming to full swing at Everwinter, because it'll be that kind of 2-month period after the new core box comes out, and the character updates, that we're going to see some nice new upsets and some nice new wind and fun tools and tricks for a lot of those affiliations that had kind of fallen out of love over the last kind of like cycle since the 2021 card update. This is kind of the biggest update we've had since then. But what have you guys hobbied this week? Have you put paint to models? Have you put glue to sprues? What's been going on?
Yeah, and actually, just to not disappoint your audience, I want to be. So, no, I've been really enjoying MCP, and Brian got me into it. So Brian tugged me along and was like, "You've got to try this game. It's awesome." And we realized we wouldn't be able to meet for like 45 Saturdays in a row. So anyway, we carved out time, played a game, and then shortly after, I also bugged the Infinity crowd and got in a game there. So now my mind is melting with everything Infinity and everything MCP. So forgive me tonight if I do quote something wrong about the new Spider-Man or about the new boxes that are coming out. But it's such it's like a lot. It's a lot going
Right.
on. And hobby-wise, lots of so sorry I'm segueing to a lot of things here, but when Brian showed up, to save me and to bring me into this world, I went out to the old eBay and I bought a lot of MCP, and so I'm slowly painting those up right now. And slowly meaning I bought 55 models off of eBay by accident, and am going through the ones that are not just purely evil models, because I tend to play the nice guys. So anyway, that's my hobby time right now, is a lot of X-Men and a lot of like boo, and a lot of why can't I think of the name, like Thor and Asgard.
Oh, Asgard's, yeah.
Avengers. Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's my hobbiness right now. 55 odd models that I'm still trying to figure out rules for.
Well, and I'll put you at ease too. Like, if there's a place to go where you don't want to have to worry about chat trying to correct you or something like that, it's here, because we get stuff wrong pretty much per sentence, and I think a lot of people have kind of gotten used to that at this point. So there will be no issues there whatsoever.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah.
Today we're going to do a tier ranking for things that we have no idea how they play.
Can we please?
A tier ranking based off of Asgard and what their McDonald's orders would be if they could only order off the dollar menu is more in our ballpark of casually professional.
Yeah. What are you painting, Cam?
Well, it's funny that you were saying that you only play the good guys because I only play the bad guys. So I'm now catching up. I painted the dark side of the core set of Shatterpoint, and then I went out and bought the Dathomir box, painted that up, and then I got the Dooku box and painted the Magna Guards, and I got the Bounty Hunters and painted or Sing. So now, and I play with my girlfriend, and she's like, "Well, you've painted all the models that you use, and I have all the great plastic models, so I'm now painting Rex and the clones and the light half of the core set for Shatterpoint right now."
The Bounty Hunter box that came, I absolutely adore the characters in there. I didn't have a huge content reference for Cad Bane outside of that he looked awesome, but getting those models on the table, they're really fun and add a whole bunch of really interesting new rules. Same with the Dathomirians. Not only do they look aesthetically like super dope, because I'm also someone that generally defers away from the light side of stuff in games, but I was very satisfied with those boxes. They were great releases.
Well, I'm a big fan. I mean, I watched all the Clone Wars and I watched Rebels, and so I've got all those characters cemented in my brain. So I really liked all the Dathomir stuff, especially. So I was looking at how can I make a Dathomir list that makes sense, and I want to do it semi-canonically. So as right now, I guess you can kind of mix and match and make kind of canon-breaking lists within Shatterpoint. I was like, how can I make the most kind of canonically accurate list for Dathomir right now? So the Dathomir box on its own, and then I was like, all right, well, we'll do Maul and put Aura Singh in there, or Asajj and Aura Singh, because they have this whole train heist arc in the show. So I was very excited to put those all together in a group.
Hell yeah. All right, Dr. D, now that you've blacked out and came back in, what did you hobby this week?
Hey, listen, I've been drinking, I've been blacking in and out of consciousness. It's fine. So listen, I've been painting, actually, funnily enough, Shatterpoint. I've been painting Kraken and Kalani.
Oh, yeah.
I attempted to imitate Sarastro. I'm not sure if we're allowed to mention him on here because he's actually, I think he's currently ascending to another,
No, you can absolutely mention Sarastro. He's, honestly, someone might consider a hero of the hobby.
Yeah, you could. So I mean, he's a good guy.
Who is that? Explain.
Sarastro, he's a real famous YouTube painter. From what I understand, I don't know how well known it is, but he was sort of a painter for Asmodee or Fantasy Flight or something.
Yeah, he's basically the Duncan Rhodes equivalent for non-Warhammer game systems.
Yeah, and he sticks mostly. He's very canon based. Most of the things he paints are related to Star Wars and MCP and all that. Yeah, you look him up. Usually his guides are amazing, and they're pretty easy. They're pretty easy to follow. But anyway, I tried to follow his guide with not the exact paints on his Kalani and Kraken. Well, I guess it was just a Kalani guide. He didn't do Kraken yet, but they're obviously very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It did not come out how I wanted it quite to, so it's been a case of trying to go back and correct some boo-boos. But that's what painting's about, baby. It's about emotional pain. So you go back... So you go back and you paint, and hopefully nobody notices. And then after that, I've been painting a little bit of Bushido. I've been painting some Inari, some foxes. If anybody knows the fox spirits in Japanese mythology, absolutely love them. And
you said Bushido earlier. Is that a game?
Yeah. So it's honestly, if you were going to compare it to another game, it's got a lot of similarities to Infinity, except it's much more melee based. I would say Dark Age, which doesn't it kind of exists right now, but they got Cool Mini or not knotted, as I'm sure some people will get that reference. The game was very much a melee version of Infinity, but now that game is kind of exists, however you want to call whatever that is. Bushido is a very, very good small skirmish, very melee focused miniatures game. It's played on a 2x2. If you love Japanese fantasy, it's amazing. It's great.
Where's it out of? Is it same out of Spain? Is it is it out of the U.S.? Is it some guy that did a Kickstarter? Like, what's the story there?
So GCT is the company that makes it. I think it's 4 guys that probably just live in a pub, like most of the people that live in the UK. So from what I understand, actually, it's funny. In some of the Discords, I know some of the people that are like in their neighborhood, so they like just kind of randomly talk about them like they're just like mates, right? So there's a guy, I was talking to the guy who does all the modeling, design, and going on over in the GCT. And I'm like, you have the weirdest accent for a Brit. Are you okay? Are you okay, man? So anyway, it's a great game. Actually, funnily enough, I guess this is a good time to announce it. I am hosting a small little like learning tournament day thing, I guess if you want to call it that, at Webway in Massachusetts. If you're around and you want to come hang out, hey, it's going to be there. It's going to be on November 4th. We're going to mostly just be playing around. There will be a buy-in, but all the prizes and stuff are not going to be like placings based. So it's like, hey, who did the best paint job here, that, blah, blah, blah. Because actually, funnily enough, I want to try and get a community for it up here sort of started. I'm at Infinity foremost, obviously, but Bushido, I've noticed that in our local area has been really popular. Like I walked into my store and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about playing Bushido. And then 15 million other people were like, well, you know what? I'll play it too. And I was like, I didn't even ask.
Nice.
Why are you all trying to touch my face?
I'm not going to that. I'm just going to tell you, like, just because I'm like melt brain right now on everything else, but I really want that to be successful, what you're doing. I really am excited for you.
Me too.
But I'm also on my wife's shit list at the moment for the amount of games I've been playing and the amount of stuff I've been buying. So I'll have to pass at this very moment. But everybody who's listening, please go right now to Webway.
Is there
just hang out overnight until it happins?
Is there a website or something that Dr. D can check out to get more information on that?
So funnily enough, Longshanks is also probably one of the best tournament like systems, I guess, if you want to call it that, for the game. You can find it on Longshanks. You can message me directly. I haven't posted it to the greater web yet because I wanted to make sure the locals had first access to it. I have posted the link in some Discords. Give it a couple days. I will probably post it on the actual Bushido Discord in the northeastern area, because the game in the States isn't absolutely humongous. It's mostly in England, obviously, because that's where they're located. But if you have any questions about it, just send me a message directly. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. If you message me on Discord, I'll definitely answer like within the hour when I should probably be working. But to answer your question, I painted a couple models, and then I painted some Song of Ice and Fire too.
Nice.
Okay, I'm done.
Now, did any of you guys get to now? So, if you're new to the show, I've never painted a model ever in my life, but I have watched a whole lot of YouTube videos and constantly think about getting around to painting stuff.
I actually have to pause you there. Are you like, so you don't paint? Is this a joke or like you don't paint?
I actually don't paint, or I haven't yet.
Okay. I'm always like very cautious on this because I don't paint. I paint a lot to like survive in this world, but I'm like, I like the tactical side of it. Like that's what like drew me originally to it. And like there's some times where I'm just like, oh, like what if I could just buy this and it was pre-painted? But I do enjoy painting. Let me just be very clear there. I do enjoy. I just lost like 7 followers that I didn't have originally, even though I don't even have followers. But no, like the painting, like Cam, for example, like is like a painting monster, and you paint all the time, Cam, and also that's inspiring to me too. But yeah, I'm so glad to have met somebody that compliments that as well. So yeah, I'm excited to hear that, Tim.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I've been talking about getting around to painting for a long time, and I don't think I've ever been closer, in to at least be fair with that, but I am absolutely spoiled being surrounded by people like Dr. D or Taylor, or my wife Lindsay puts in a lot of hours in making sure that all my MCP and Shatterpoint stuff is painted. And
that's awesome.
I've primed stuff. Like I'm a really good go out to the back porch and prime stuff person. Yeah. But I just get real mad. I snap a lightsaber off and I'm like, I'm done with this hobby forever. I never want to glue another model together. And yeah, I lost some gore grunta ears like 4 years ago on some iron jaws and just never forgave myself.
Never recovered.
I painted an obscene amount.
Yeah, Cam like is basically a paint channel in himself. Yeah, it's kind of insane. Which also is so Cam is responsible for getting all of our terrain together for every system at Everwinter and Ironweld, and Cam has a factory in his basement currently, of which is uh, our great friend and his girlfriend Kathleen also helps him with. But we basically have like we went from like zero to a lot of terrain very quickly, and actually like what I think is very fascinating terrain. I always our joke constantly is like more wizard like Cam if there's not enough wizard tower tomorrow, like you're fired, gone forever. But yeah, we haven't have we done any MCP terrain? I don't know if we have. That's like kind of on the radar, on the agenda. We're gonna move into it, but right now we're like hands full with a lot of what's that big company, GW? We have a lot of those terrain systems and trying to get in order, and then we did some other ones
I
with
want
Legion.
some cars and some ruined buildings for Hulk to throw around. That'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Better
So anyway, so
You better
Cam's
be
our
careful flinging those words around. A James Workshop's coming to come get you.
yeah, it's scary.
Speaking of people, by the way, and I'm happy to hear that Cam, you're one of those kind of like absolute not front runners. I can't think of the right word, but absolute powerhouses as far as helping people get trained and stuff up and going. We're currently running throughout the end of the month what's called the PCN Heroes of the Hobby. And this is a nomination system that I just want to kind of touch on real quick here. Maybe? Nope. I definitely had an image for it. Boom! There it is. And so what this is was kind of a nomination system where if there's someone that's like at your local game store that always brings models and teaches new people to play, maybe it's someone that hosts a paint night or hosts or puts up paint guides, maybe it's someone like Dr. D that writes a lot of blog articles specifically about kind of overcoming some of those initial fears in getting into hobbying as a whole and, you know, elevating your paint style as a whole. Maybe it's someone like Brian Watson, who kind of very tirelessly runs a whole ton of events for MCP and a whole bunch of other things, and really kind of, yeah, for real. And Brian is certainly one of the people that, like, when I think about why we started the PCN Heroes of the Hobby, Brian Watson is like kind of way up there as someone that's like, he cares about people having a good time, spends a whole bunch of time and effort into organization, and sometimes very few and far between actually gets to play himself. So putting, you know, his own hobby time and his own gameplay kind of to the wayside to help build community and fosters kind of that good feeling in the community are people that we want to recognize. So you can use the link in the chat here. It'll also be in the show notes if you want to nominate someone. And effectively what will happen is throughout the end of the month, we'll grab some of those nominations, we'll kind of boil it down to what we feel like should be some of the finalists, and then we'll release a Google form where people can vote for the story and the person that they feel should really exemplify a massive, overwhelming force in the community for MCP. That winner is going to get a custom model that is painted by Taylor on the Hobby Hangout stream every Monday. That is going to be, effectively, when you nominate someone, you pick their favorite two characters in MCP. We'll get that model. Taylor will do it like way above and beyond, and that person will get that as well as a couple other little prizes for, you know, just being dope and helping people have a really good time. So you can check that out there at the bit.ly link is right there in chat. But yeah, Brian, Cam, Tyson, all those people out there that just do all sorts of work to make sure that people can actually play and have a good time. Or like Miles, right? Running events where people can actually just go and have a good time, regardless of, you know, how upset your partner or spouse gets you at a very regular basis. You're providing, you know, a bunch of information throughout the year so you can make these events better. And we thank you for it.
And he also
So go sign up go sign somebody up right now. Nomination. Log off of this. Actually, don't log off of this. Listen to us for the next 30 minutes to an hour. But
go buy another phone so you can open it up on that phone and nominate someone.
Picture.
Do it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those lovely humans out there. When I first got up, so I'm not from here. I'm from some other outer space planet. No, I'm actually from Memphis, Tennessee, so I'm a Southerner.
Oh, nice.
The God forbid or something. Oh yeah, we got another Floridian in the room. but yeah, no. So I got up here from the boondocks, or the just the south, the lower part, and I didn't realize how many people were so voluntary. Like everyone wanted to help some freaking way, like all the time. And Corey, so if a lot of people know Corey, but Corey and I were originally like trying to like call up the troops and like make an event happen, and like just people flocked, and they were just like, I'm doing this and I'm not gonna ask you for anything, like, and like I'm not used to that. Like as a southerner, like all you want to do is just give back. You're like, she's like, you helped me, so I'm gonna like give you a pie or something. Like it's gotta
Yeah.
be something. But like, and I comment to the Corey on this all the time. I'm just like, how is this happening? Like how are these folks like actually coming through on this and like not like just yelling at us all the time? Shout out to Derek in running Infinity and Brian who runs MCP. Like, oh my gosh, we definitely 1,000,000% couldn't do it without you guys. So yeah, anyway, that was my take. So yeah, so go nominate. Like, go nominate those people right now. Because they need it. They need the shout out.
So, and for those that aren't familiar with Miles and Corey or Wicked Dicey as a whole, Miles, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us a little background on Everwinter and kind of the evolution of that and into Ironweld.
Yeah. So Corey started it. It was nothing to do with me. I'm not as cool. But basically, Corey's this like force of nature and happy-go-lucky human that runs around and comes up with harebrained ideas. Actually, originally from Sam Gould. Shout out to Sam as well. But anyway, Corey was running Everwinter with our other. So we have 4 like co-owners. We were like kind of owners. We're kind of like just make it work kind of thing. We do have like an LLC, so stuff like that. But basically, Corey and Brad were running it, and I showed up, and I had run 17 or 18 illegal Harry Potter events across the country. I'm sure Cam's heard the story 1,000 times. Sorry, Cam. Allegedly. No, not allegedly. We definitely got sued by Warner Bros. So, they came after us. It was fun. It was hilarious. I had just come off of a around the world trip, and we ran our like 7,000 person events, and we had the senior legal authority at Warner Bros. Send us a lovely letter that said, don't do anything that you're doing right now. And then at the same time, I was opening up like 5 concept restaurants that fit like thousands of people at a time in Memphis with like a former serial entrepreneur friend of mine. And so I knew events. Like it was just kind of like nature of that. Like I was like, how do I get 1,000 people in a room? Like I make it cool and I make the experience really different and kind of irreverent. And so then anyway, Corey and Brad were running Everwinter, and they had it in this like small ballroom with like 40 people, and then like Malifaux in the corner. And I was like, hey, let's bring this to like a bigger venue and like let's start doing what they call marketing. And so we tried out marketing, and we got 350 people in the room, and so that's the start. And it kind of came from like I don't know, like I am like you'll hear me banter on and on about the real people world and how I think it's like we should all just be playing games. And so like ultimately my goal is to like burn down the real people world and like have everybody play games. Like that's ultimate. Like I just want everybody to have fun. I'm tired of not having fun. And so that's like where like the quintessential like Everwinter Ironweld experience comes in. Like we just want people to like leave with a smile on their face, and like like I think one of the taglines is like where like roles are lore and like decisions are epic, or I don't know. It's definitely written better than I just said it, but like the idea there being like this is not your this is not your show up to a tournament event and like play a couple games and then go home and then go back to your 9 to 5. Like I want people to be like, we're not there yet where we can just like buy stupid things, but like I want people to go and just be like kind of had their socks knocked off. So anyway, that's the 1-2 on that.
actually, and as a good thing to like kind of bring up now, out of all the people that are here, right, out of all four of us, I'm the only one that has actually gone to Ironweld and Everwinter as someone who didn't like have some kind of, I guess, work obligation might be a way to put it. So like I was actually like a true attendee of both, and I will say that both of them were fantastic. Ironweld definitely felt like it was a growing thing. Like you could see it, you'd be like the potential for it was just like, oh, I can definitely see where this is going. But Everwinter, it was like it was in Boston. And I will say this, I'm usually the negative one, and everybody hates me. And the only negative thing I could say about Everwinter was that the parking situation was kind of butts, but there was literally nothing else that you could say about it that didn't go like so perfectly well from an attendee standpoint. Like I'm sure on your end everything was on fire, but because I kind of floated between the Infinity part and the MCP part, which were kind of like in the other side, like. I don't know. It was kind of like on the other side from like where the Warhammer stuff was, right? James Workshop didn't interfere with us, but
you don't have to hear us loud people screaming all the time.
Yeah, essentially. So it was a really, really cool event. You managed to get 40. I think there was like about 40 people in the Infinity event. It went so swimmingly well. Derek's great, obviously, but the reason I bring this up is that we still actually do talk about Everwinter like all the time. I don't know how the MTP people talk. Yeah, no, let me tell you, what if that was actually your goal, you blew it out of the water. Like we were talking about it today because we were reminiscing on like 2-day events and all that, and how Everwinter was set up in such a way that it just flowed. It was perfection.
Yeah.
So let me just add that to anybody who's curious about going.
Yeah, and more to come. I mean, I see like 1,000 ways of changing it up on everybody. So it's a process. Like I wrote in our Discord the other day, I'm you'll hear it from me. I mean, probably more than anybody wants to hear. Cam, again, sorry, but like I love transparency. Like I'll talk to you about numbers all day. Like if anybody's ever curious, just like hunt me down and like talk to me. But like like we broke even on Everwinter. It like any bit of money came in, it went out to something, including Toys for Tots, which was lovely. And that actually has like a really like personal thing to one of our event organizers. Actually two. And then the Ironweld, like we paid out of pocket. Like it was like money out of our pocket, and it was like the huge thing. And that was like funny early on with Everwinter this year. We were like, okay, it's like Easy Street. Like now we can like cruise because like people know our name. We don't have to like scream into the Facebook void. And then like we got to about, God, it was like, what was that, Cam? It was like a month ago, 2 months ago or something like that. And Corey and I looked down the barrel of the gun and we're like, gosh, there's like a $40,000 bill and not enough people are signed up yet. Like, come on, guys, get on this. Like, and so like, we're better now. Oh my gosh. Like we did like this, like, we're just like, all right, focus, like get off the, like, don't eat so many marshmallows. And now we're just like, let's fucking go. Let's do this. So anyway, that we're in a good spot, and I am excited for the future. And not to like, I mean, we so Cam and I like very transparently as well. Like we come from Age of Sigmar, like that's like our pure poison that we started with, and like there are some really fantastic events surrounding that system, and I'm sure same with MCP. I'm sure same with Infinity. But there's a lot of fantastic events out there. There's a lot of like show up, leave events that I don't know. Like I went to I was one of those like played games as a kid, dropped it for 10 years and like pretended to grow up and then never did, and then got back into it. And I don't know, like when I got back in, I was like, 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 what is this? And so, yeah, we don't want to go by the book. Like we're done with that. So, but again, long road.
Well, and I think that's super important too. Like, so we've been to a bunch of different events. I've never been to an event yet as an attendee, so it's always from the working side. But one of my favorite things, especially about Everwinter and Ironweld this past year as well, was like the entire MCP group that was there, both us streaming it, the event runner, like Brian and I think Matt, Alex were running the the organization for the MCP stuff, everyone went out, you know what I mean, to eat and just be merry and play games and play Werewolf or other card games and stuff in the evening. Like, that is, if your event doesn't have that type of camaraderie at the end, it is one of those events that you just kind of like go to and then you take off. But in both of my experience with Wicked Dicey events, it's also similar to Adepticon, where there's just such a really nice community where people are having fun outside of the games itself. Because you can lose sight of how fun a game is if it is only if you go in and you win or lose and you're not concerned about having an actual good time playing a game.
I actually have a theory about that. So my theory goes, we all like were 12 years old and we all started playing a game like 40K or something, and we were like, let's get really, and then we became adults and we got really good at it, and then we became like really competitive and angry. And like what happened was, like, we were like these like undisciplined like children of games, and then like we just like fueled that like rage. And what we're doing now is like growing up as a community. And I think that like MCP is a really good example of that. Age of Sigmar now is a really good example of that, where like we come to it and like we really just want to, like, if you don't drink, you don't have to, but like we want to like share a beer and like enjoy each other's company and play at a highly competitive level, or not, you know. And I think it's like a maturity thing that's happened. And like that's another little side quest of mine, is like to break the back of the 40K people, to like get them into this like we're gonna have some fun here, not just care about like shooting people off the board and like laughing about it or something. So that's like another one of those, I don't know, I feel philosophical all of a sudden, but that's a thing.
So in a weird continuation of that thought, especially on Arachne, and I've gotten Brian to go into it too, because he's a big, I think, proponent of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you have awards that de-incentivize taking first, I think it's a lot easier to get people in that same like mindset. So like on Arachne, we talk about middleist a lot, in that if you lose a single game, a lot of people will just check out because they're like, oh yeah, I can't win the 400 person event because I didn't roll all sixes or whatever. If you can have some kind of way of rewarding somebody for either like sticking it out or just being the biggest socially awkward nerd, or doing everything you can to just make sure other people are really, like a sportsmanship award or whatever, I think that you have a lot more luck with that kind of stuff. Middleist is my favorite version of it, in that you've lost your first game, you've won your second game. If you're going into a 3-game event, you're like, ooh, I might get the best award of the entire event. I could get middleist. And every single time we've done this at an Infinity event, if you've had the luck of coming to one of the ones that we do up here in the Northeast, the person that gets first, everybody's like, yeah, cool. And the second's like, yeah, cool. Get middleist. People are like, you did it, buddy. You got the best of, and it's just amazing. So I think any prospective person trying to run events out there, if you can somehow de-incentivize first and second and just make it so that the prize pool gets spread out in such a way where the stupidest, stompiest list doesn't always win, I think people are willing to go to that frame of mind. But you really have to make sure that the incentives are kind of like, it's better than the disincentives, if you know what I mean.
I just went to ACO, I guess it was like 2 or 3 months ago now, and something I've been trying to push for us to shamelessly steal is they had this bounty board system. I played the Legion tournament, and it was an amazing system that they had. So there was the obvious, best in faction, first, second, third, blah, blah, blah. But there was also this like subset of, I think the best way to describe it would be like Xbox achievements that you could unlock playing games. And so it was like the first player who, in MCP terms, like the first player who has Thor kill Thanos would get an award. And it would be like, it would be some goofy things, some things that, and then it was great too, because like friends could bring little goodie bags to like put bounties on their other friends' heads, so that if you beat their friend, you'd get a little awards. It was amazing. It was all this like fun little stuff that you could be like actively gunning for. And some of them, the fun part too was like some of them they teased ahead of the event, so like you could tailor your army or your list to try to achieve some of them, and then some of them were hidden and were revealed only like during the award ceremony, which I thought was just super fun, and it was very lighthearted, and it took less emphasis off of like your personal performance, or like, oh man, I didn't do so great, but hey, I crushed it and got this fun achievement award. So I'm hoping, we don't know the details yet, but I'm hoping we just like shoehorn that into all of our events at some point. So
I'm personally usually over the moon for stuff like that. The okayest I think is great. I think those bounties and stuff, like the specific, like just modeling it after the kind of those random Xbox achievements, like first person to spike a roll that goes over 14. Like maybe it one shot at a toad that had 1 health left anyway, but it doesn't matter. You rolled 7 dice and it turned into 12, and that's dope.
I gave up 3 to my opponents, so that tells you how well I did.
You gave up what?
I gave up 3 bounties during the course of the tournament.
Oh no!
One of them was like the first person who defeats somebody who's ever wielded the dark saber. So in game 1, I put my Darth Maul out in a really bad position. He just got 1 shot, and so gave my opponent that one. And then there was another one for like how many ion tokens could you stack on a vehicle. So I'm like, it's like I was just giving up bounties left and right, but it was fun. It was fun even being on the opposite end of that. So
I mean,
Tim,
yeah.
do you think they should do one for whoever gets Fearful Symmetry off first?
I mean, if there's not, I mean, what's the point? If Kraven can't become Spider-Man in a game, is that game even worth playing? Like,
Absolutely not.
Well, actually, I had a question about that. So, Kraven. I was telling Tim I listened to the podcast from yesterday, or not yesterday, or
last week's episode.
You guys are talking, and you were like, everyone's gonna start bringing Spider-Man, and so the secret tech was bring Kraven. But who is Kraven? I don't know who Kraven is. Am I just clueless?
What?
He was one of Spider-Man's first villains, Kraven the Hunter. He's
Kraven the Hunter.
He's just a dude
sounds like
that
wears a Legends character.
I mean, it's pretty much Nidalee a little bit. But it's a dude that just like he likes hunting stuff, and he wears a big jaguar like open vest, and he has spears and knives, and all he does is track people and hunts the most dangerous prey, and sometimes that's Spider-Man.
He also does a lot of weird experimental drugs because he's actually from like Tsarist era Russia, and he looks like he's in his like 40s.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy. Okay.
You gotta go on Jarvis Protocol, man. Go look at the characters.
Yeah. Well, he's my next. I don't know. It sounds like something to get. So.
Well, hey, let me tell you right now, Spider Foes are going to be in a real good spot real soon.
Yes. So, and like Taylor and mine's game yesterday, like Spider Foes, the Sinister Six Spider Foes affiliation is very good. But to explain that bit a little bit more, there is a card which a lot of people would consider heavily uncompetitive called Fearful Symmetry. And what it says is if Kraven the Hunter KOs a enemy Spider-Man and has the card Fearful Symmetry, you remove both Spider-Man and Kraven from the field, and you replace your Kraven with a Spider-Man. He kills Spider-Man, becomes Spider-Man.
Oh, wow.
It is...
Which is a reference to the comics, which is something that he does.
That would be perfect for the bounty board. You know somebody's going to show up gunning to do it once in the game, and then they're not going to play a single Spider-Man, and they'd be really sad.
So, yeah, I've gone out of my way to use Mr. Sinister to clone in a Kraven because a Spider-Man just happened to show up. It's over the top, it's stupid, and it should never work, and it's certainly not good. But when you pull it off, it's so overwhelmingly fun. And that's what I love about that type of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like some Hydra ones would be good, too.
Yes. All the High Council one where you can just call in anyone you want.
There should be an award if you play Captain America and you sink Las Vegas into hell. That'd be a pretty cool one.
That's pretty specific.
Well, whatever. Well, fine. Kill all the fun, Tim. Jesus.
No, that wasn't what I meant.
Oh my gosh.
Nuts. We're back to the professional network. Shucks. But yeah, so like, do you have any, Cam, very specifically as a recent convert to Shatterpoint? We've seen so Brian does some great stuff as far as kind of like mixing in that casual side for MCP. Is there anything kind of out of the gate that you could think of that would kind of provide some of that feel as far as a bounty in kind of a newer game that would develop that type of that play and that feeling of participation while also having just some dope stuff happen?
You mean for Shatterpoint?
For Shatterpoint, yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think getting people to, I mean, I'm kind of new to Shatterpoint, so I've been listening to some podcasts and trying to get more of the competitive twist ideas going and learning the game more. But I would be interested to see what kind of zany lists, because the lists are there's no team cards yet, so it's kind of still missing that element from MCP, that layer of complexity. But I'd be interested to see like what weird combinations could people kind of like bring together and put together in a list that aren't just like, I'm gonna run this box with this box, and I'm gonna run Vader and Grievous because they just one shot things. What are the
Yeah.
What's like what's OP Shatterpoint right now? Like, give me two models that.
Vader and Grievous.
He just did.
Okay, so there. Okay. Well, then the bounty there would be like the two worst models and fielding them on the table. Like, if you could do that and win a game or something, like that would be the bounty.
I don't know if any characters in that game are considered like bottom of the
there's nothing
barrel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's balanced, quote unquote.
Yeah, other than
So
I think
nobody's
Grievous
found
and
a way to
Vader,
break it.
they're the things that kind of stick out. The rest of it seems pretty like kind of on the level.
Well, there's some cool interactions though with it too, right? If you think about someone like Count Dooku who can spend force to attack back or whatever if they don't roll any successes in their attack roll, or Jango Fett, the player
Is that Thor? Is that Thor?
Yeah, that was Thor.
Oh, God.
If you are watching the stream, that was my dog.
Yeah.
Jango Fett, the player that gets the most not so fast on other people's activations or things like that, could provide a lot of that type of neat gameplay.
Last night, and my
Any-
opponent could not stop saying "not so fast." Every
Oh.
time I was activating characters who were across the board, he'd be like, "Not so fast." I'm like, "All right, show me range 3." Am I in range 3?
I do it too. I'm so excited to use it. Like, if it's just on the board, someone says anything, I'm like, oh, not so fast. I got some force left.
I'm not even remotely close. I'm not even activating with units. I'm moving units out of phase with like Mother Talzin, and then he's like, "Not so fast." I'm like, it's not how that works. So sorry.
Cad Bane has that ability too that like removes people from objectives, and I can never remember the name of it, but because you have that choice whether you move your character off or not, I just always call it "Go on, get!" and just hope that they try to get off that objective.
I mean, yeah. Speaking of which, I mean, I was playing. He was playing Dooku and Cad Bane, and so he had all the force in the world because he would get force back when I killed somebody, and he would get force back when he killed somebody. And so like it was funny seeing the dichotomy of lists.
Yeah.
Like, I was super force hungry, and he like constantly had 6 force available to him, and I was like, "Oh, I can't do fun things with my characters, but you get to spend all your points willy nilly as you feel, as you want." So.
I really like that feeling too of the bounty hunters in Shatterpoint, where because they have that, like you can count them as whatever you want as long as you spend some force for it. Like I think there's some neat interactions there where it's like, yeah, have a bounty hunter, wound an opponent as a force user for the round. Like
that's why I stuck. I just like shoehorned Aura Singh in because I was having her like when she activates, she gets that whatever the token, and I'm like, okay, well this turn she is going to be Dathomirian, and she gets to do all the. Get all the keywords from Dathomir and get all those abilities. So I stuck her in just like to try to like, really hammer on the theme of the list.
So to segue this back a little bit, so on the Wicked Dicey site, you can take a look at all of the MCP events that are going to be happening throughout the course of the weekend. Once again, that weekend is December 8th of this year for Everwinter. Do we have any idea, Miles, as far as what some of the events that for Shatterpoint might be?
Great question. Sorry, I was gonna ask you what MCP force do you use right now? The pure curiosity, like I'm not answering your question at all, but I just like I have it on my mind and I can't not ask it. What's your go-to?
I am all over the place. I really like Criminal Syndicate, and I also really like Sentinels. They're not great, but there's so much like memeing and shtick with them that anything that gives me rerolls, because I'm a very poor roller, I adore. So if there's something in there that lets me roll again and still be frustrated, like I'm all about it.
Okay, to answer your question, sorry to
Good.
like the Shatterpoint guy who's listening right now is like, what is this guy talking about? But so we've got a guy, Sean, and I probably am saying his name right now because we have a lot of organizers at the moment that I'm working with. But out of Midgard helping us run Shatterpoint. I don't know the details of the tournament, and as you'll learn, I am not the biggest detail human, and I tend to have a memory that's about the size of a goldfish. But we currently have, I think we're just north of 10 signups right now. We're hoping for 1,000. It'd be great. But no, everybody's welcome to join. I think it was like at Alpha Omega, one of our local shops nearby, and there was like 30 people playing, and I was like, where are all these Shatterpoint players? Our Legion community is like bigger at the moment, so we're kind of like working our way up with Shatterpoint. And I also think that there's that like moment where like the new shiny game is out, but like everyone still just has their models from like the old shiny game that they play, and so they're not like ready to go into tournament beast mode yet. So I say 10 right now. I'm sure it's gonna grow. I'm very confident in that. In fact, like I was talking to the Sean the other day, and he was like, and God, I hope I'm not misquoting his name. Apologies on that. But yeah, like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think that's one of the systems, Cam, you've got some terrain at least in progress, or if not, like on the docket. So we're gonna like soup up everything having to do with that. Yeah, like I'm just excited because again, shiny new object. I want to like be the first to throw a really awesome event with that, and I think I'd love to see somebody break random lists like for no reason, like find something that nobody else was thinking, like that'd be great. And so yeah, that's we don't have like extensive details yet. All I'll say is like that one in particular, because it's a new system, is going to be a lot of fun. And it'll be really cool to see what everyone comes up with. So yeah.
Well, and one thing that I thought was really cool at Ironweld was Midgard Games had a setup there where they were just running demos for Shatterpoint. So I think one of the cool things at some of these events that you can kind of find is if you're going for 40K exclusively or Legion or Infinity, like there's usually some ample opportunity, especially at Ironweld and Everwinter, to be able to like pick up another game and try some stuff out, because there's more than enough stuff going on, and it's really kind of an approachable atmosphere where, quite frankly, if you walked into the Infinity room and you see Dr. D rolling on the floor screaming over a couple rolls, like he'll also still probably teach you how to play the game.
Yeah, I will say we play our big quarterly events at Midgard. Amazing store. All the staff are great. I've never actually met the owner, but I've literally never heard anybody say anything negative about the guy. He's
amazing.
He sounds like a saint among men.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
go to Midgard, spend your money. They always have a great selection.
Yeah, that's a great segue, because Midgard is giving us a lot of prize support, and yeah, I mean, just out of the woodwork, like they were like, heck yeah, we're gonna support you. It's a big number. That's all I'll say. And look forward to prizes, lots of prizes. And that's one of the things. Like a lot of people coming off last year were like, we had this like holiday tree. I don't know, whatever people worship, or whatever. But we had a tree in the corner, and we had a whole bunch of presents and stuff, and it was monstrous. But like, hopefully we'll be more monstrous this year with our amount of gifts. In fact, I like one of like the funniest things at Ironweld is like I totally like not funniest. It's my darkest moment. But I let down Brian at the MCP event, and like I hope I can apologize here on stream to all the people who were there. But there was a miscommunication with the amount of prize support that we were supposed to give the MCP event, and so like Infinity got like rained down with support, like AOS rained down with support, 40K rained down with support, and like for some reason like I just didn't talk with Brian at the time, and then Brian didn't talk with me, and at the end of the event he comes up and he was like yeah, I don't know, I just didn't get a lot of stuff here, and I was like flabbergasted. I was like, I totally would have like triple doubled whatever it was that you guys got, just didn't know. So if any of my organizers are listening, please just come talk to me. It needs to happen. Words are good. So anyway, that's darkest moment. It's terrible, terrifying.
It's a fact, though. Words are good.
Yeah, words are good. Yeah. Do we have? I don't know if we're gonna stream Shatterpoint. Cam, Tim, do you guys know any status on? We had like a Legion guy lined up that we're still kind of working on. That Cam, you just need to send the Dern email.
Oh, I did.
Okay. And then Tim, you showed up for MCP. Thank the gods for that. And then do we have an Infinity? I don't think we have like anything related to Infinity. You guys just don't like. PB.
Infinity's hard to stream because of the tables.
Is it?
'Cause
Oh,
it's
because there's
so
just too much terrain.
You would need
Yeah.
someone there with like a handheld camera to like kind of trace everything that's happening.
Well,
Tell me more.
Just all body cams, honestly. You just get vests, each player wears one, and like whatever they're looking for.
Yeah.
I want to know the ratio of people you've converted over to Infinity from being on this channel. I'm actually very curious about that ratio.
I have personally talked to at least 2 or 3 people. So this just happened over the weekend. I wrote the first Infinity article, and I did it. And it's like obviously people probably aren't even they don't know they have Infinity stuff on Professional Casual, especially with the written stuff yet because I hadn't done any yet. I go to the store literally that weekend, and someone at the store says, "You know what? I read that article about the character, the thing. I didn't have anything. I don't know nothing." And then he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna try the game now." I was like, okay. And it's weird because like the proliferation of content that manages to pour out of PCN, it's so strange what like piques people's interest sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like you just post the most random of things. Like I'll post a picture or I'll post like a painting guide or something like that, right? And I'll just be like, walking around at LVO, and somebody's like, "Oh, you're the paint guy." Because I'll say like, "My name's Dr. D." I went to an event in Florida, and somebody was across or he was at the table next to me, and he's like, "Are you the Dr. D?"
The
And I was like, "Yeah, that's me."
That.
And so he's like, "Yeah, I've read your painting articles, and you're on Fury, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you having a stroke?" And I had to save him because I'm a doctor. So, I was legally obligated. So anyway, the point I'm getting to is it's kind of
back or
I did, yeah, all the way to
Okay, cool.
give him the resurrection adjustment.
Cracked his feet or something. Okay.
Hey, listen, that's a sacred thing. I can't talk about that.
I know.
So the point, to answer your question, say that again.
It's gonna be one of our bounties. Give your opponent a resurrection.
There you go. Ask Taylor about the one I gave him. So
Save your opponent's life.
don't tempt me, Frodo. Don't tempt me, Frodo. So the point I'm getting to is, yes, there's definitely been a couple people who have played MCP Infinity because of some of the things I've done for the podcast. I'm sure Tim gets them too. You'll just get like a random email from like some guy in Nebraska, and they're like, I listened to the podcast, and I decided to start playing again, and I started a local community. Yeehaw. And it's incredible the weird reach that these little networks have. So yes, to answer your question, yes, there are people that have converted to Infinity.
Yeah. Well, and it's so wild just because we have a real dearth of different things that we cover here, and the amount of people that are like, yeah, I had never played a minis game. I had only played D&D and stuff, but then I checked out your Warhammer stream, and now I'm playing minis, and now I'm following Taylor's hobby stream because I don't know how to paint, and I think nerd culture as a whole has so much cross-pollination that, like, really at the end of the day, kind of like Miles said, like we should just be playing games and having fun because the real world is, it just sucks, and it doesn't have anywhere near as good rules. So we should be playing games that have good rules, or bad rules, or just fun rules.
Yeah.
Dearth is a good word.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rev.
And actually, that was like speaking on that, like, again, I was like, oh, I gotta like just brush myself up because I kind of generally know what PCN is, and I've every once in a while hopped in and just kind of looked around and stuff like that. But then I like went on, I just like went on a hunt and just was like Instagram and look at all your other stuff and all this other, and I was like, what is going on? So I was like. Dylan's just typing in like ancient hieroglyphics to your Hearthstone, or whatever it was you were playing. I was like, what the is going on? But I was like, this is great. And also like your, I guess it's your, I'm assuming, is it your D&D or your 40K or your RPGs? That you do with everybody. Like, it's so exciting to see like a whole bunch of people like stick to it and do like a long thing like that. So anyway, like, yeah, all over the place, but like I love it. I think it's great.
At the end of the day, that's why you start a network, so you can have a regular D&D game actually fire off.
I love it.
I'd highly suggest it.
People go through to get a solid group together.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do
y'all ever see those like D&D on YouTube back in the day that was like, it was like a purple maid. It was like pretty well done. It was like actually filmed like at a table, and they were like there was a name. I'll find the name. I'll send it to you. But there was like, it was like a legit like cast of like actors that were like acting the role play out. It was, I don't know. I'll find it and send it to you. But
Yeah, especially over the last like handful of years, that has really exploded. But yeah, I do feel like in the back of my memory there was one like a ways back that was like really kind of cutting edge
Like,
for the time.
yeah, and then they tried to do like a space version of it, and it kind of fell apart. But anyway, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, message me because I don't remember the name, but it was good.
So, real quick, just before it gets too much later. So, as far as kind of the schedule for MCP at Everwinter this year, Friday, and this is all up on the site if you want to check out wickeddicey.com. You can buy tickets for this as well and start planning on what you're going to be running for some of these events. Friday is going to be the Toys for Tot fundraiser. And kind of as we were talking before about like bounties and especially Brian Watson's creativeness and how he kind of puts some additional fun spin on events. This is going to be a 3-round event with random pairings. It starts at 3 p.m. on Friday. Players are able to donate money to Toys for Tots, and for each $1, they will earn an event token. And those event tokens can kind of be redeemed for all sorts of in-game prizes and stuff. And as we kind of get closer to that, I'm sure that information will come out, and we're going to have Brian on at some point soon, too, to kind of talk about that. But I know he's been putting in a whole ton of work for how to have that be pulled off in a really cool way. So I'd highly suggest making sure to watch out for that one. And then Saturday, starting at 9, we have the Survivor Qualifier event. This looks like a standard timeline restriction qualifier. It's also going to be for LVO Invitational points as well, with the top 8 going into the finals the following day, which will be Sunday at 9. And then Sunday there's also going to be a standard timeline 3-round event. In addition to all that, there is a event that Brian is running called So You Think You Can Dev, where you get to kind of put your game creation chops to the test and develop a pre-selected group of 4 characters that aren't currently out in MCP, write up cards for them, and there's kind of a side contest for that. So a lot of kind of cool, fun side events in addition to the LVO qualifier and the fundraising event as well.
That's super cool. We gotta do that for other game systems.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for that. I know he's been putting in a lot of work for it, so I'm really excited to hear more information from Brian on that stuff. So, but that's going to be kind of the schedule for MCP, at least for the weekend, and we'll be streaming each one of the events individually. So if you're not already, make sure to be following the YouTube where we put up all of those event videos. You can check out last year's Everwinter stuff. We had some really cool upsets with people playing some less meta affiliations, like Phil from Midgard, who was playing Dark Dimension and just absolutely crushing it and had great shtick with it the whole time as well. And then at Ironweld, all the team events, because that was a 3x3 kind of event style where you would have 3 players on a team. You couldn't have more than 1 copy of any one model, but you could have tactics cards in Crisis. And then you would kind of put 1 player at a table where you knew they were going to be. 1 was randomized, and 1 was kind of chosen by your opponent. So, like, if you were the Brotherhood runner in your group, and someone else was Avengers, and someone else was Spider Foes, you kind of had to pick and choose, and you didn't know what you were going to be going up against. You just knew that, like, only one of you was going to be going up against Magneto throwing 18 trash cans at you, or Thanos Guardians just obliterating you from existence. Ben with Brotherhood, no love, Tim. What do you mean, Ben? That's not... You played a heck of a Brotherhood at anything you've ever done, man. But yeah, so I would highly suggest checking it out if you haven't already, and if you haven't, I would check out the videos from last year because they were an absolute blast, and Everwinter was honestly one of our... I mean, very easily in our top 2 conventions for the year, having spent months going through everything else. But... Dr. D, last year you played Infinity at Everwinter. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how that event went?
No.
Okay.
I have to embarrass Brian really quick before we go to anything related to Dylan. So.
Yeah, shoot.
I never want to have him mentioned in a sentence with me.
I don't want him to talk. Oh, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know this, like we just found out that we're like neighbors, so this has been great. We're gonna play a lot of games together. I think. I mean, unless if you'll have me like in your presence, you know.
I allow it, but you better never mention Brian.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Oh, Brian. we were at a Sigmar tournament. I think it was an RTT or something like that. And Brian was telling me about this. So you think you can dev? And he was like, we got to keep it on the down low. We can't really tell folks like the corporate folks that we're developing characters. And I was like, Brian, break the rules. Just we gotta break the rules. It's gotta happen. So just don't let it be a thing. So anyway, super excited about that event. So if you haven't created a dev character yet, do it. It's gonna be real fun. I'm not gonna do it only because I don't know enough about MCP to smash out a character and make it somewhat viable. And if I did, it would just have 1,000 power. And regenerates every turn. But anyway, good stuff. Let's embarrass him in a good way, in a happy, fun, vibe, positive way. So anyway, all right, back to you, Doctor.
We need a bounty for the person nominated the most times for the PCN Heroes of the Hobby, and that person should probably be Brian Watson. So if you know someone else that's going to nominate Brian Watson, nominate him again anyway.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite hero of the hobby, and why is it Brian?
Right.
So I just want to say, as my personal bounty for Everwinter is, I will pay 20 shekels to whoever steals his cart and gets it to me. I will give you 20 shekels, and make sure you ask him about that story.
So, my first interaction with both Brian and Dr. D was great from two different fronts, because I had first met Brian on a phone call because he was going to TO ACO, and we were going there to stream, and we had kind of connected a little bit or whatever in leading up to it. And the one thing he told us, he's like, yeah, you'll see me, you'll know who I am because I have this cart that I always pull everywhere. And he shows us the cart, and he's showing it off and stuff, and it's a dope cart. I really wanted one. And he's like, there's this guy, he's one of my locals, his name is Dylan. He's going to try to steal this cart. Please do not let him steal this cart. So we're like, all right, we're on the lookout for this guy Dylan. Then we end up meeting Dr. D by, as I touched on slightly before, him screaming during an event and rolling over backwards onto the floor, just over the top, just Dylan nature to the extreme. And I was like, I don't know who that dude is, but he's having an absolute blast. And that is exactly the feeling and the vibe that I want at any MCP event. Is someone being like, oh, another trash can into my character? Great. And just rolling backwards because of it. It was fantastic. ACO was a great time for us meeting the Midgard extended family.
And I had to ask him. So the first thing I asked him when I met him, because I was listening to PCN podcasts, and at the beginning of every single one of them, this one will probably be no exception. There's always a bumper where it's like, oh, hey, I'm whoever, and welcome to PCN. So I heard the lucky one. I don't listen to the D&D ones. It's not yet anyway. So I asked him, hey, Tim, I know who you are. I know who Dan is. I know who Danny is. Who is Lucky? Is that a real person? Because my name's Lucky. And I'm like, no human being could actually talk like that. So I didn't know it was Tim.
Yeah.
That's how we met.
It is. Then you took my business card and you're like, this isn't your real phone number, is it? I was like, well, no, not really. It's a Google Voice number. But yeah, it's my real phone number.
And then you send feet pics to it, and
Yep.
Anyway.
Nope.
Nice.
So you asked me a question, Tim, 2 hours ago. You asked me, I went to the Infinity part of Everwinter.
Yeah.
What was the question?
What was the Infinity event like last year at Everwinter?
So there's a lot I could say about it. All of it's good.
Is it under NDA or something?
Listen, I can't talk about certain things because you're not one of them. You're not one of us. So, okay.
You're not in the in crowd.
I've listened to 2 episodes of Arachne more than once.
Now you're an arachnid.
Yeah.
You must refer to me as big
I've gotten
spider daddies, like the rest
two
of
as well.
like the rest of the community. Anyway, so to answer your question, it was a huge event. Usually, we just started hitting 30 people at Midgard events, and I believe the one that was Everwinter, it was great. The Everwinter one was, I want to say it was just short of 40. It was 36.
Yeah, it was 34 or 38 or the 2 numbers in my head. Yeah,
I think it was 38, and somebody had to leave. And most of the time, if you've ever been to like a 2-day event, not all games can support it and all that. Most of the time on the second day, there's a lot of drop off. I don't actually know if we've really lost anybody on the second day. Like everybody was dedicated to it. Yeah. So there was a lot of famous people there. There was a guy there named Lobos. He's one of the best Infinity players on the planet Earth. And he was there. I didn't really know who he was at the time. I wasn't as ingrained in the community as I was then, but I'm going to try and get him. I'm going to probably capture him and tie him to a radiator and get him as an interview for Arachne. So he can become an arachnid.
Yeah.
But it was an absolutely fantastic event. The only downside, I think that might have been the most like obvious, was that the room was small and it obviously wasn't designed for 40 people to be standing around swinging their arms around. So it was kind of hard to hear each other. I'm hoping the new hotel is the Westin in Waltham.
Westin in Waltham.
Yep.
It's really cool.
Make sure you check where you're looking, because there's a Westin town, and then there's a Westin there's a Westin hotel. Yeah. So just make sure you're careful.
Yeah, we're pretty stoked about the new venue. It's fun. And a really quick comment on that is like that's one odd thing about Everwinter is like we have access to like a really odd network of really talented humans. Like the number 1 and 2 player of Sigmar are there constantly, are at any of our events. And like Brad Chester apparently is really big in 40K, and like everyone knows he's really good, and like he's gonna be there. And so like it's like there's like a deep bench of humans that play a lot and do well. And so that's fun stuff too.
And when you bump into these people, make sure you buy them an ice cream.
Or tie them to a radiator.
Or tie him to a radiator. Well, that's Lobos. I guess he deserves it. Yeah. I've heard he's a super nice guy. So anyway, the point I'm getting to is that I did walk away with 7th out of those 40 people, and I got best painted army during the event, and I also got best in sci-fi with my lizard for the overall painting thing. And by the way, Miles, I want you to know, you hobo, you big doofus, that when you posted all the pictures talking about Wicked Dicey, the winner of your sci-fi thing didn't even get listed. Didn't even get on the website.
Yeah, you weren't that. No.
You just won me, you big doofus. We're not gonna actually show it off.
Yikes!
Are you talking about the Everwinter Wicked Brush entry that you made with?
Yes, the one that you hid behind the exact same model another person submitted.
It was the what's the character again?
Lizard.
From
yeah, you won that, didn't you?
I sure did.
Yeah.
You didn't even post the model.
Well, okay. And also, for anybody who went to Ironweld and was in the Wicked Brush, we had like a little bit of a miscommunication. We were supposed to like deliver a bunch of photos, didn't go right. It was all on us. But anyway, the Wicked Brush. We didn't talk about that. We don't really have too much time to talk about that. But Wicked Brush we have like big plans for that. We want it to be really amazing. If you submit a lizard, maybe not. But the otherwise, everything went well there. It's just like I have a lot to do in life, and I just didn't get around to photos, and yours got pushed down to the bottom for whatever reason. Bad. Yeah, so just don't feel bad. You're just trying harder this year, and you might win, and I might buy you an ice cream. It'd be great.
So just in kind of closing here, there's a lot more that we didn't go over for Everwinter. There's the Wicked Brush to Painting competition. Lindsay joined that at Ironweld this year, and I think painting competitions are one thing that kind of a lot of people, whether you actually hobby like most others or not, like myself, are something that you can really appreciate, especially when Dr. D's models get put behind another model that was also a lizard. But so there's that. There's Shatterpoint, Infinity, AOS events at the Wicked Dicey stuff is always kind of like awesome and huge, and the vendors are dope. Baron of Dice is normally there, as well as a number of other like local vendors, but they're great events. I would highly suggest checking them out, and Everwinter is going to be their first opportunity to do that in the near future. So head over there right now, check it out.
We're nearing the end of the room block too, so jump on that before it all goes dry.
Pull over your car right now. Pull out your phone. Be safe.
Nominate your favorite MCP human that does really good things for the world. And then secondly, if you have time, only if you have time and you feel good about it, get a ticket to Everwinter.
And get in the room block
you're gonna
before
have
it's
a fun
gone.
time. So.
And come hang out with us and Dr. D. If you think that he's contained on this show, just wait till you see him in person.
Yeah, you guys have no idea.
I think they do.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
But for real, make sure to send in your nominations for the PCN Heroes of the Hobby. Once again, people like Cam that just are able to produce a whole ton of terrain, which is heavily needed. Events cannot happen without someone doing a lot of that work, getting the terrain ready, people like Brian organizing it, making sure the long shanks and stuff are getting up and that people are getting excited, adding those spins, putting on bounties, and think about what is something that would entice you to go to an event if they had a cool bounty, or how can your game that you play or that you're super into provide a not necessarily super competitive reward, but just make something that's super fun to see and play.
Make sure you bring a lizard model that'll get hidden behind another lizard model and not put on the website.
Do you know what website that lizard model picture was on, though?
WickedDicey.com.
But guys, Miles, Cam, Dr. D, guys, thank you so much. Really, really very much looking forward to Everwinter this year. And between now and then, guys, have a great day, have a great time, and we'll see you next weekish or whatever, probably. All right, bye.
Listen to Arachne Infinity Podcast.
Oh, there's that show. You can find it. It's right behind their other Infinity show.